What is up, YouTube? We are back in the shop and we got all kinds of things going on. I don't even know where to start. So we'll start with the racing video, and that was a lot of fun having a couple different GoPros. So I'm gonna continue doing that, and hopefully we can get some good shots and some good wrecks and stuff like that. But we'll keep playing with it and we'll get better with it as we learn how to place them, which directions to place them. But in the meantime, I'm trying to get ready for LS Fest Kentucky. I really want to go, and it is in no time at all. We have our budget G-body sitting in the shop, and unfortunately, we are going to pull it down to a bare shell. I have already gotten rid of the drivetrain out of the car. I'm not sure if I got that in a video anywhere on YouTube yet, but the 6-liter 4L80 is gone. I am going to swap it with something else at a later date. The rest of the parts that are coming out of this car are going to be the fuel system and the interior, the seats mainly. And after that, we're just going to put it back outside where it belongs, let it patina a little more, and we'll pull it in right before next season. And I don't see a sense in leaving the rest of it in there if I'm going to need it for a different car that I want to drive yet this season. But we are going to get this Mazda done. The whole entire fuel system needs to be installed into this car, as far as fuel pump and fuel lines and stuff like that. So we are going to get it on the lift and get that done. We need to get the dash of the car done. And if you follow the Mazda build series under 5,000, I got good news. I'm still going to use the price of the parts that I have in the G-body on this car because they're all the same exact parts I would have used anyways. The seat color might have been different, but they would have been the same seats, so even that's the same. I am going to try to get dated seatbelts for this car, but if it don't work out, I will take those out of the G-body for now and put them in here also, just so we have seatbelts so we can drive to Kentucky. That's right, we are driving this car to Kentucky. I am praying and hoping that the clutch and the throwout bearing and everything is measured out and it's going to work according to plan. I haven't played with one of these too much, so I don't actually know. And when it comes down to bleeding it and firing the car up, I think we're going to find out. And hopefully everything is perfect. That's what we're talking into existence. Everything's just going to work this time. But let's get into tearing the rest of this G-body apart. So that absolutely freaking sucked and was a lot harder to get off than I thought. I never really planned on taking it apart unless I absolutely had to, but here we are crossing that bridge. So you can get one of these fuel pumps at your local parts store. It is a 1989 F-150 inline mid pump, whatever you want to call it. They are 90 PSI at 300 something liters per gallon or something, and they run about $50. This is what I'm going to be using in the Mazda. And when we rebuild the drag car, I will upgrade it just a little bit. And we will use Amazon Specialty Evil Energy. And I believe that one was $70 or somewhere around there. But let's add this into our Mazda build. And then we need to add in a fuel line kit. I do have to get a couple 5/16 to 6AN hardline adapters for the Mazda, and then we can wrap that up completely, but we can go ahead and proceed on our journey. So with our fuel pump and our fittings that we're gonna add with our fuel filter line kit, we're gonna add that to the total, which is now this number, and we can proceed to install it into the car now once I get this off the lift. I picked up this radiator secondhand at a race car swap meet a very long time ago. But I measured for a brand new one and I found one for $160. So we will go ahead and pop $160 more onto our total. Or if you can find one secondhand on Marketplace or something, you will be miles ahead. Now we need to find electric fans for it, which I have not picked out yet. We will get to that at a later date. But I believe that catches us up on everything that we borrowed except for the seat prices. So the seats for the car are $250, and I was gonna get a $100 more expensive set of seats just because they were plaid. So we actually saved money, technically-ish. I'm still gonna get them someday, but for now, these are gonna work and get us where we're going. And then we can continue on with our uprights for the dash, and there's gonna be a center console around the shifter. I do have to get the shifter parts ordered, so that will be the next video. We will have the shifter and building the shifter, moving it back. I think it was 12 inches or 13 inches. We have to move it back. But it's gonna allow us to put the seats in a normal location rather than really far forward and make it look really weird when you're just cruising down the highway. Because for the rest of the season, this car is probably just gonna get cruised around. And next year, we're headed to some drift contests in surrounding states around us. And hopefully we can pick up a little experience to get us into maybe Pro-Am drifting, and then we can work our way up from there. The other thing I'm working on here is the top dash pad. Now, I went ahead and added 2 inches to the end of mine, and I used a factory edge to make sure it was straight. So this will be the side towards the steering wheel. This will be the windshield side. I still have to trim it down perfectly. But once it is trimmed out, I'm going to try to fit it into the car. Little update, we have a radiator now, and we are going to make some tabs like this out of aluminum, and we will weld the two together. And then we are going to weld these onto the radiator like so. And that is how we are going to mount it into the car. So we got the top of the dash in, and it fits really nice. I will be wrapping the edges with something, but I'm still figuring out what I'm gonna do with this piece, and that's why I left it 2 inches long. I'm not sure where I left off at, but we got the dash out of the Mazda, and I believe that's what I was working on in the last video. But it was also race day, so I was trying to focus on that. So good news, there's more racing videos coming. I just have to edit them and get all the videos onto the computer so I can do it. But we had a pretty good race night. We ended up blowing a tire, which is no big deal. It happens. That's our first one of the season, actually, so I'm really impressed. It really has been clean racing overall for the season, and I couldn't ask for a better thing. We do have a little bit of a situation with the transmission. It's not shifting right now. Could be low on fluid, could be a sensor out, could be a fried transmission. We have no idea. But I got to get some of this stuff done for Kentucky, which is coming up really soon, like we were talking about, I believe also. But I got to get some of this stuff done so I can get this car off the lift, and then we can get the other car in here and see what's broken with it, because we have another race coming up Saturday, which is 5 days from now. I'm not sure what really happened here at the end of the season, but please bear with me on the racing filming. There is so much going on right now. There was a race on Wednesday, Saturday, and then now a week later on Saturday. I'm trying to do all of this stuff while I'm trying to keep afloat in my personal life on bills and just life alone, and it gets harder by the day. But I'm getting to them, I promise. There's gonna be way more racing on the channel. Maybe a little bit of building here or there, but only projects like the Mazda mainly, or the budget G-body. I'm gonna keep most of my Ford race truck off of there for now. It is such a big project, it's not even a focus, so there's no point in just filming me doing a little bit of welding here or some sanding there. Another truck back in the corner is this 59 Chevy. That one is gonna end up my work truck once my work truck breaks. And I don't see that happening in the near future, so that thing's just gonna sit there and just wait for me. I did finally get a box for it, which is up top there. After all of these years, I picked that box up for $200, and I am not letting it go. I do have another set of fenders up there that I tried to sell, but only the bedside sold. So now I have those fenders to put on this box and make a dually fender. That catches you guys up to what today is, which is Monday after racing, and we're getting back into the Mazda, which is the main reason of this video. All right, guys, I got the car up in the air. The dash got finished up for the top, and then I will show you what the rest of it's looking like when I bring the car down. But I wanted to button up the fuel cell a little bit on the bottom side. I cut a whole square into the floor rather than whatever they had going on before. It looked so god-awful. So now it's a square in the floor for a square fuel cell, and it just makes sense mentally. Got some new straps made. I decided this is where I'm going to let the pump live, and then on this side will be the filter. So I'll have a feed line into the filter, and then it'll loop around into the pump, and there should be enough fuel pressure to push the fuel into all of it. I ran a new AN line front to rear for this car, and then I used that factory feed line right there for my return line. So I'll slip a hose or a fitting on that, and I'll dump it right into the top of the tank with a 90, so we can leave this one capped off. For the rest of the feed line, I just followed the factory lines that were in the car already and zip tied it up nice. Right here, I didn't want to take all this back apart, so I just went around it. And then I put some AN clamps on to hold the hoses exactly how I need them to sneak it up through there. Got the electrical zip tied out of the way for now, and I will have to come back through, put some fittings on that. But that's pretty much a wrap on the fuel system. I just gotta button it up with a couple fittings like I was saying, go up top, finish some fittings right into the fuel rails, and then everything is done. I do have a little bit of hose left, probably 3 foot of it or so that will be perfect for the return line. And the kit that I'm using was a 20-foot kit. I used probably 4 feet of it on a different car, so we'll say roughly 15 to 16 feet. Did a feed line in this car and the return line from the hard line to the tank. So you actually get quite a bit with the $70 kit. All the fittings are included other than hard line to AN. As far as electrical for underneath the car, this is our key power and starter and gauge wire, and then we will have a harness wire and the battery cable. So the battery cable will come off the top, come right through the back just like this other one, and I'm going to use these factory screw holes to mount the cable all the way to the back, and then at some point I will pop it inside the car to go inside the hatch, and that is where the battery is going to live. I will have a couple different grounds, so I'll have ground coming off the battery onto the subframe to the body, and then body on the front side to the subframe, and subframe to motor, and everything just to make sure that there's more than enough grounds in this car. Once I get the cable, we will go through all of that, and it will make way more sense. But we know the total of the cable, so we can go ahead and drop that right here so we can wrap that up into our total and see how close we are to our budget now. And the closer we get to buttoning this up, I think we're gonna make it minus the bumpers and the hood. So getting back into the dash, I have the 3 top bolts in and the other holes drilled out. So now looking down at the floor here, I noticed that there's 2 threaded screw holes already, so I will just screw right into that. And it'll come right up into the top of the dash, and that should stop it from flexing and vibrating too much. And then on the outsides by the door jambs, we'll use the factory mounts to get the sides of the dash done, and those will probably get tacked into the top of the dash just so it's one piece, and then the whole top will be structurally sound, and then the rest of it we can just bolt panels onto it. Some kind of a something around the edging to take away the metal on metal, mainly because I cannot stand sheet metal rattling against sheet metal, and this is gonna be a lot of sheet metal up in this dash. But that's where I'm gonna leave you in this video. I gotta go handle a couple things. In the next video, hopefully we are buttoning up some more things. And like I was saying in a previous episode, I'm hoping to get this done in under 10, and it's looking really, really, really promising now. So this is our new total right here of how far we're into this project and my prediction of how far we're gonna end up into it total. I'm gonna go ahead and also post that right here. I'm doing that because it's gonna be hard to see the numbers in the door, but I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.